The New Testament, a journey of love and redemption. The New Testament is the second part of the Bible, containing the stories and teachings of Christians about Jesus Christ and his mission of salvation. With 27 books, it is a collection of texts that address the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, as well as the formation of the early church. The life of Jesus. The New Testament begins with the life of Jesus Christ, which is described in the four Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These books tell the story of Jesus from his conception to his resurrection, highlighting his miracles, teachings, and actions. Jesus was sent by God to save the world from sins and preach about the kingdom of God, calling people to repent and follow its teachings. The mission of Jesus. Jesus performed miracles, healing the sick and casting out demons, showing his authority over the world. He also chose 12 apostles to be his disciples and sent them out to preach about his life and teachings. Jesus also performed the Last Supper with his disciples, where he instituted the sacrament of the Eucharist and foretold his death and resurrection. The death and resurrection of Jesus. At the end of his life, Jesus was crucified and died on the cross. However, 3 days after his death, Jesus rose from the dead, demonstrating his victory over death and the defeat of sin. This resurrection is the center of the New Testament message and is celebrated in all Christian churches. The formation of the church. After the resurrection of Jesus, his disciples began to preach about his life and teachings. They also perform miracles and heal the sick, spreading the message of Jesus throughout the world. The early church was formed in Jerusalem, where the apostles and other disciples of Jesus gathered to celebrate the resurrection and preach about the life of Jesus. The letters of the apostles. The New Testament also contains letters written by apostles of Jesus, such as Paul, Peter, and John. These letters provide guidance and teachings for the early churches, addressing topics such as salvation, justice, and love. Paul, for example, wrote letters to the churches of Corinth, Thessalonica, and Philippi, exhorting Christians to stand firm in the faith and to follow the teachings of Jesus. The life of the disciples. The New Testament also contains stories about the lives of Jesus' disciples, such as Peter, John, and Thomas. These stories show how the disciples continued to preach about Jesus and his mission even after his death. Peter, for example, was one of the leaders of the early church and was martyred for his faith in Jesus. The life of the church. The New Testament also addresses the life of the early church, including the formation of Christian communities, leadership, and discipline. These texts provide guidance for the formation of Christian communities and the application of the teachings of Jesus. The message of the New Testament. The New Testament message is one of love and redemption. Jesus came to save the world from sins and to offer a life of peace and happiness. The New Testament teaches us to follow the teachings of Jesus and to live according to his will. The resurrection of Jesus is the center of the New Testament message and is celebrated in all Christian churches. The New Testament is a collection of texts that address the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, as well as the formation of the early church. These texts provide guidance and teachings for the Christian life and remind us of the importance of following the teachings of Jesus.